Alright guys, I just wanted to tell you that I have seen Terminator Genisys and I also have seen The Gallows yesterday. But instead I want to review two other movies that I just watched today because they're not as heavily reviewed on YouTube, so might as well give some attention to them. By the way, if you have Netflix and you have Netflix Instant, both of these movies I'm about to review are on Netflix at this time. Okay, with all that said, let's start with the apocalyptic movie that I saw, which is These Final Hours. This is a 2014 film from Australia, but because I'm in the US, it's a 2015 movie for me because that's when it's released here. In these final hours, some cataclysmic event has happened. It's not quite said, but something happened and the whole world is about to end. I believe it's implied that a meteor struck and like it's described in the movie, basically Earth is going to peel back like an orange, but as if the peel was completely on fire. Or something like that. It's an Australian film, so it is set in Australia, and they have about 12 hours left on Earth to live because this wildfire is slowly progressing across the world. So we follow the final hours of our main character named James, who abandons his wife to go to a party to end all parties, and he wants to be numb, he wants to be drugged up so that when the fire comes he doesn't feel anything, supposedly. But among the chaos, he finds this young girl who he saves from these pedophiles, and now he's stuck with her, and it's a road to redemption for him. Now look, there are a lot of apocalyptic movies out there, and for the most part, it isn't that different compared to some other ones. But These Final Days has a lot going for it that I have to admire. For one, this is not a post-apocalyptic film. This is, in all honesty, a true apocalyptic film. The film starts off flat out telling you that there is no hope, everyone is gonna die, the end of the world is coming and there's nothing they can do about it. All they can do is live their final hours and decide what they can do before the end comes. Now because of that, the tone of the movie, I gotta say, is depressing, and there is a lot of hopelessness and despair in this movie, but at the same time there is a little hope, and there is hope that maybe some people can redeem themselves in the final hours before the end of the world, and it is really great. For one, this movie feels a little bit more grounded in reality. The action, the violence, the chaos isn't so over the top that other Hollywood apocalyptic films might be. And in that sense, it feels highly realistic. This really isn't a film about the apocalypse. This isn't a film about people trying to survive. It's about people having to deal with the end of the world and what kind of people they can turn into when there's only a few hours left in the world. People accept it, people crumble, people commit suicide, people go into chaos. It is crazy. Another thing These Final Hours has going for it is the acting. There wasn't really any bad acting that I could see from this film, but then again, I'm not a big critic on acting, so I think the characters were handled well. There are some stereotypical type of characters, but that's to be expected as long as it's not the main characters, and it's not. I thought the story was compelling, and I really got into the characters. I felt for the characters, and that's a little hard to do when it's a pretty short film. Now the overall depressing and hopeless tone of the film might be a little too much for some people. Some people might not like it. Another really depressing and really hopeless post-apocalyptic film that comes to mind is The Road, and I love that one. It's not as harsh or as desperate or as depressing as The Road is. So if The Road was too much for you, you still might be able to handle These Final Hours. Now, in all honesty, there isn't a lot happening in These Final Hours. There isn't a lot of, action. There isn't a lot of crazy things that are happening. That's pretty much all in the first 20 to 30 minutes, because that's the most chaotic, because he's trying to get to this party and there's a lot of looters and there's these crazy people killing each other. That's all in like the first 20 or 30 minutes. The rest is all character development and character building, and him coming across all these different people that are on the verge of desperation or in denial of the world's ending, and him helping this girl as well. So it's a very character-driven story, which is very good, especially for something that's apocalyptic film, which doesn't happen too often. Now, I feel it's a great film. I don't think it's perfect. I can't really pinpoint something that I dislike about it, but overall, I admire the story, and it's a slightly different take to some other apocalyptic films. So if you're interested, go ahead and try it out. It's on Netflix Instant, and it's only an hour and 27 minutes, so that's not too long. Of course, I have to come up with the score, so I am going to give it 4.5 stars. So, have you seen these final hours? What did you think about it? If not, what is your favorite apocalyptic movie? But as always, this is Bruce Gifford, and this was Just My Opinion.